Domestic and gender-based violence remain among the most urgent human rights challenges of our time, affecting families, communities, and entire nations. In Cameroon, the reality is particularly alarming. Reports from organizations like the United Nations Women or UN Women and other home-based organizations, and the Cameroon's Ministry of Women Empowerment is glaring. At least 19 women have been killed between January and March 2026, and while women and girls bear the greatest burden of these violence, the conversation cannot move forward without meaningfully engaging men into action. Too often men are seen only as perpetrators, but they are also fathers, they are brothers, they are partners, mentors, leaders who have also the power to challenge harmful norms and influence change. Gender-based violence requires more than laws and policy, demands a shift in attitudes, behaviors, and social expectations, especially among men. In today's edition of Women and Leadership, we are focused on men's approach to gender-based violence. And building synergy among men through awareness, accountability, and a positive leadership is essential. When men stand together to reject violence, promote respect, and model healthy relationships, they become powerful agents of change. In today's conversation, seeks to explore men, what men or how men can move from being passive observers to active participants in ending domestic and gender-based violence. If you have missed any of our past editions, you just have to go to our YouTube page. You type Canal International, you type Women and Leadership, you type the thematic of the day, and you can watch all our past editions. And let the conversation begin just after the jingle. And it's time for us to know our guests, and in today's edition of the program, I've invited just men this time around, and men chosen from different sectors, including those who lead associations fighting gender-based violence, because we want them to open up to the root causes, and again open up to their experiences and share the experiences, of course. And we'll start with a man that is very close to my left. He's called Dr. Cliquez. He is a medical doctor. He is a public health expert. He is a technical expert, I would say, with HIV free projects with CBCHB. Dr. Cliquez, you are welcome into this edition of the program.
Hi, Maureen. Good evening. Good evening to my co-panelists, and also good evening to the millions of televiewers who are watching us out there.
And how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing particularly fine. All
right. Besides being a medical doctor, you're a public health expert, and I'm seeing something very interesting about your profile. We're talking about HIV. Now, women are still very much affected by this disease more than men. Why?
Yes, I think it's not a program on HIV, but then what I can say is that, first of all, we have many more women than men. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the anatomical construct of a woman and their physiology, so women are more at risk of contracting HIV, because we know a majority of persons living out there with HIV do contract the infection through the sexual route. So we know when you look at the male reproductive organ and that of the female is like a receptacle. So I think that is just the reason why they are much more exposed, and we have many more women who are infected out there. Also, because we are in a context where we have this famous talk of male power. I don't know, I'm already going into the discussions. The tendency is that women have higher chances of getting tested or knowing their status.
Than men.
Because there are many reasons that may take a woman to the hospital.
Of course.
Even if she's not sick and she gets pregnant, she needs to go to the hospital. If the children get sick, she gets to the hospital. If the husband is sick, she goes to the hospital. So all what I have said expose the woman to getting to know their HIV status, because in Cameroon, it's a national policy since 2016 that everybody who gets into a health facility should systematically be proposed the HIV test. And so that is why many more women have higher chances of getting to know their status.
And just want to add that HIV/AIDS is still growing on a very alarming rate. It's like it has not ended, because I have a lot of people who don't prevent. It's a way to sensitize Cameroonians on the disease. We equally have, we're not talking about HIV here, we have another thematic that we will be debating on. And we equally have Hamlet Kwang. He has an association working our well-being. I want you to tell us a little bit again about that, and what have you done this month of women? We are still in the month of March. What programs have you initiated to sensitize women, especially on your course, especially as we're talking about gender-based violence?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Maureen, for the invitation, and I'm greeting the millions of women that are out there watching us this evening, and especially those from Bamunka and Babugo.
Also greet the men.
And the men, because it's very important, because we'll be talking more on the issues that men that are similarly being accused of committing on women. And so on this period of March, as working for our well-being, we have carried out a diverse group of activities, online communication, and also coordinating educative talks with young girls on issues on gender-based violence. And I've also been participating in training 1 or 2, 3 persons on the issue. And we have also engaged our women to be actively involved in more of in ways to reduce the gender-based violence, rather than being just the victim, but also looking for ways on how they themselves can prevent. Because there's sometimes, look at what Akangaji said, that if you are a man, you cannot support a woman's mouth, you better don't get married, which is something that the woman also needs to consider, that if you're a woman and you cannot control your mouth, don't get married. So in one way or the other, we are putting the two sides on the table and trying to tell them that, okay, these are the things that you need to do to keep your marriage home safe. These are the things that you must not push the limits on. You must know that marriage is about bringing compliments, because when you leave your father's house or your mother's house, you come with your bad attitude. The man also has bad attitude.
You're really getting into analysis and you're getting into the program. Brad, I just want to say, in the course of all your activities, you focus just on women, and you didn't invite men.
No, we do not focus all on women, because as Dr. Isier just said, we also work on HIV program with PEPFAR. And all these things globalized, we have specific periods for specific activities where we bring in the different gender, as you're saying. Is it men or women? We engage them to talk on issues that might concern them, make focus group on things that really concern them, and try to see how they can be followed. All
right, you are going to be telling us, if you also talk to your fellow men about gender, you don't have to be your wife. We equally have Kenneth Tato. I hope I pronounced it this time around. He's going to forgive me if I didn't pronounce it well. He is a pastor, author, and a marriage counselor. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Maureen. Greet you. It's been long. Greet my fellow panelists. I also greet our televiewers. It's a privilege for us always to come on set to address issues that have a bearing on the welfare of our society. And one of these things we are going to be talking about today is a key issue, because, as you said, and from the statistics, which I think they are not empirical, but just,
No, 19, a lot of people say it's too small.
Yeah, it's too small.
There are a lot that have gone unreported, especially in rural areas.
But then, as small as 19 is, it's not a funny figure at all. Okay. So it is an aspect of our society that no right-thinking person will want to be passive about. It's something we need to address as a people, because life is sacred. When it gets to where life is being lost or life is being tortured, we all are supposed to be on our toes to address it head on. Thank you for bringing us on set.
All right, thank you so much. We equally have Ano Ngaku. He is a marriage counselor. He is a parenting coach. Let me put it that way. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Maureen. My greetings to all the televiewers. It's a pleasure to be in our midst today.
All right. I'm glad to have you. Now, when you talk about parenting,
yeah. Okay, parenting is because nowadays it's very difficult to raise children. When we go back a little bit in the years 80s or 90s, it was very easy to raise children because the society was well educated. Your neighbor could correct your child and there's no problem. But nowadays, with TV, with internet, children have very, very bad influence. And also parents are too busy today to really manage their kids and to really raise them in a good way. That's why nowadays we have more children who are very stubborn, who do very, very bad things, and parents are not really up to the task. They are not able to raise their children very well. That's why they have much challenges with their kids.
And how do you give solutions to parents who are busy?
Okay, most of the time.
How are you going to apply that?
Yeah, most of the time when the parent comes to me, so I will try to first of all.
They only come to you when the problem they can no longer handle, right?
Yeah.
And
most of the time.
Problem.
Yeah, most of the time they only come to us when it is above them. So we give them advice. We also help them to manage their children because also the education of a child it depends on the how old the child is. So we educate them, and we also used to do teaching sessions, to help parents to know how to relate with their children.
Because that's a very serious issue.
Yeah.
Because it's a very big problem. You only get to a parenting coach when you can no longer handle your child, and maybe you even get to that level the coach can also handle the child. And it becomes a problem. It's
true that when we even organize seminaries, conferences, parents are not interested. It's only when it is above them. Have you ever invited Dr. Kuma? He did not come.
In
fact, I will invite him the next time. But most of the time when you invite them, they will not come. All right. They will not really show interest. But it's when it is really hot with them that they will try to say, look, coach, please help me. My child is going astray, and so on and so on. Yeah.
All right. That's another issue that we'll have to treat.
Yeah.
Because a lot of children, you see what's happening in schools, and you see the conflicts in homes related to children. Now, before we get into today's conversation, let's watch this report by Gladys Ambo Dibang. She is sampling the opinion of men in the streets for Douala and elsewhere, asking them what would provoke them to hit a woman, and again, what solutions will they take when they are so angry? What will they do at that point in time? Let's watch it right back just after the jingle.
I've been married since 2003.
Je suis en couple, ça fait 40 ans.
Le divorce, ça fait au moins plus de 25 ans aujourd'hui. Bon, ma femme, quand j'étais à la maison avec elle, j'essayais de la comprendre. Mais elle n'avait jamais voulu me comprendre. Je faisais n'importe comment. Quand on essaie d'arranger les choses, elle ne comprenait jamais. Donc elle avait à trouver où partir. Bon, selon moi, normalement la femme, c'est de dialoguer à la maison. Il faut dialoguer avec la femme, causer avec la femme.
Pas arriver comme ça, on rentre avec une fâcherie peut-être du lieu du service. Peut-être la dame n'a pas préparé ou bien quoi que ce soit, tu commences à te fâcher. Mais quand elle arrive à ce niveau-là, tranquillise-toi et tu prends une place et tu demandes qu'est-ce qui ne va pas. Si peut-être elle veut lever le ton, bon, tu te mets de côté, tu attends le bon moment et puis maintenant vous arrivez à vous dialoguer.
With the love you have and your determination to make it work, when quarrel come, you will dialogue with your wife. Ask her, this is why, the reason why I agitated this. This is because you did this. And at the end of the day, if I am at fault, I apologize. If she's at fault, I apologize. What I mean that it's not about who win. It's about making a happy home.
Ça ne sert à rien de lever le ton lorsqu'il y a peut-être un petit problème qui se passe à la maison. Non, ça ne se passe pas comme ça. Je préfère mieux me calmer et rester sur place. Même si elle vient me cavater, elle dit que non, lorsque je sors d'abord dehors, j'attends peut-être où elle dort, j'entre aussi, elle dit que ce que tu fais là, c'est quoi, il y a quel problème.
Se reconnaître à une faute, c'est très important. Ça évite que ça s'élargisse et que ça... Et surtout quand il y a un problème, c'est mieux de le trancher au plus vite. Plus ça dure, plus ça peut créer d'autres problèmes.
So it takes only my wife to marry me. Another person cannot marry me. Because the way I react, she has mastered me. But when we started, it's like I jump up, she jump up, but now everybody have understood each other. And she's the only person that can handle me. It's because she understood me and she want the marriage to work. So that's the only advice is you dialogue first, you understand.
Il y a aussi les voisines qui intoxicent vos femmes. Parce que tu peux être avec une voisine qui c'est une maman, elle marche avec ta femme qui est jeune. Quand elle marche avec ta femme qui est jeune, et que chez toi tu as plus les moyens que son mari, elle est jalouse de vous. Tu interdis ta femme de ne pas plus chez la mère là, c'est ta mère. Tu pars même chez la mère, c'est ta fille là-bas. Je ne veux plus qu'elle vienne encore chez toi, je ne veux plus de contact avec elle. Hein? Mais jusqu'à la femme continue toujours. Tu rentres aujourd'hui, tu la vois. Le moment que tu rentres parfois, le soir comme ça, qu'elle est chez la voisine, calcule l'heure que tu es en train d'entrer, elle entre à la maison. Mais après, toi aussi, tu dis que peut-être elle n'est pas là-bas. Elle ne sait qu'à le matin, tu le travailles peut-être comme je suis personnel. Il y a le moment que je viens, comme elle rentre tôt. Tu rentres tôt, comme ça, tu arrives qu'elle est partie chez la voisine. Tu la vois sortir par l'angle. Le mariage va durer comment? Ça ne va pas durer.
Et que vous savez, les femmes sont tellement fragiles et susceptibles. Donc, de manière que on peut lui apporter que monsieur, ceci, on a vu monsieur en train de boire, ou bien on a vu monsieur avec une femme là-bas. Elle s'éclate et elle devient une autre chose qu'on ne connaît pas. Mais si vous avez aussi un tempérament fort, vous voyez ce que ça crée. Mais à chaque fois quand ça arrive, même si c'est n'importe comment, il faut chercher à se calmer, surtout l'homme.
Peut-être tu as pris une bière, ça lève sur ta tête, tu te retrouves que tu es en train de la chiffrer, et pourtant après tu regardes ce que tu as eu à faire. Donc parfois il faut se calmer, se retirer.
J'ai décidé que je me marie plus, je grandis mes filles de 5 ans jusqu'en classe de première.
Sometimes people refuse to say, I'm sorry. It's a very big and vital role to play in marriage. I am sorry doesn't remove anything from me. Sometimes I kneel down to beg her so that I have a happy home.
It's time for us to get into the conversation, and I would like to begin with Dr. Kum. Domestic violence is most often seen as a problem caused by men. Do you agree with that?
It's a yes and it's a no. The yes because we have men who are naturally violent, and nothing really justifies that. I think we need to be very clear. And I know because before you see a man perpetrate a violent action, don't just look at the action. It's good to look at where the man came from or what prompted that man to get to that level. So I think generally what we always see are the consequences without really looking at the causes. Again, no justification whatsoever. There is no reason which is strong enough to cause a man to raise their hand on their wife. Domestic violence. And so when looking at violence, generally what we are referring to here is the physical, but we also have the emotional, we have the sexual, we have which do a lot of harm, which are even much more difficult, and which can even lead to suicidal tendencies, meaning that from a simple psychological violence or sexual violence, you have the opposite partner getting to suicidal ideation, and which can be manifested. Okay. So I think for domestic violence, yes, in most of the cases in our context, unfortunately, the men will do so for really trivial reasons. And I think one of the reasons we are here is to see how we can empower them, we can cause them to really avoid doing so as much as possible.
All right, let me get to Kenneth the other way first before I get to Ano and Hamlet. Can we blame men for the growing or for the rise in domestic violence in Cameroon?
That straight line approach is going to be faulty, and it won't lead us to get what we are supposed to get in order to address this issue adequately. I think it is a shared responsibility across many lines. Yes, as Dr. Kum has said, most often there is a trigger. It is true we have men who are narcissistic in nature. Some of the causes are even spiritual. I'm going to develop this along the line as we discuss. Some of the causes are, economic. Some are just by virtue of personality and all of this put together. But the truth is that the violence, as unjustified as it is a shared responsibility. When you look at the way, let me look from the standpoint of the education that is being given to the girl child or to the women folk. there are extractions of the society that build a defensive tendency in women, that anything a man does, you should try to defend your rights. And this right movement is a subtle way or a subtle cause of violence in today's society.
So you're trying to see the fact that women are being empowered and all of that
that is a salient contributing factor. The education that some crusaders of women's rights give is a problem. We're going to talk about it. Okay. That's why we're here. Some of the things that are told some of the women, the ideas that they give them, they end up acting as a trigger. Dr. Kuma said there are things you don't look
What
at.
did they tell the women?
Some of them
that provokes the violence at home.
Some of them are
or provoke men to kill women.
Some of them are told to defend their rights, and defend their rights in quote. Some of them are told not to allow anybody to trample on them. And at the end of the day, when there is no clear delimitation of the scope, people end up trying to defend what is not supposed to be defended. They end up trying to crusade against issues that are basic responsibilities, which they are supposed to accommodate within the relationship space. Yeah, so what I'm saying in effect is, if we want to take it as like, okay, let's blame men, we're going to be
it's a shared responsibility, like what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Now let me get to Arno. The fact that women are defending your rights, or the fact that a lot of associations or advocates are talking about empowerment left and right, do you think provokes conflicts in homes?
Okay, well, I did a research in my book called the Simplified Marriage Guide, and in chapter 2 of that book, I did a research and I realized that although the countries in the world where those how do they call it, those movements, those feminist movement are, in those countries there is too much divorce. In those countries, women don't respect men, and in those countries, when you go to the court with a woman, they will give. In fact, the woman will have advantage more than you, and that it destroys the family base, because God has established the man as the head of the family, but those people, they say no, we are equal. So if you are as a woman, when you receive their advice, you come into your house, you start to see your husband, no, we are equal. So I have to ask my husband to go and fetch water for me to drink, go and wash my dress. Is
that the meaning of equality?
The fact is that the way they say it and the way women apply it, it destroys.
How do they say it? That destroys home.
The fact is that, try to do a research. Look, go in USA, go in Europe, go in all those countries. You realize that all those countries, women don't respect their husbands, and that's why they cannot. Because the way they teach them, when you come into your house, it becomes like your husband is your rival, and if you say A, you will say B. You say, if you joke, I want to report you. I will live in this house. They will drive you. They will take your salary to pay the house. If you have 2 kids, you are going to give money every month to those kids. They reach the age of 18, and you are just like you become like the husband, because the man become just like a slave. And in fact, and it's the more it is entering in Africa, the more the women are becoming rebels, and it is destroying their nature,
the African
and their
house,
position.
we have the African tradition.
We are very much influenced by Western.
So you the men, you want to say you're victims?
No, that's what I tried to answer the question you asked me. So men cannot be only victims, because men are also very guilty, because we have to say it in our African culture. Men are considered as the head of the family, but they don't manage their position very well.
Okay.
They abuse a lot. There are many men who take their wife like servants, like their slaves, and they misbehave a lot. For instance, there are men that they cannot say, "I'm sorry, my wife." They cannot ask for forgiveness when they have misbehaved. They talk anyhow to their wife, and that's how many. I even wanted to say also something very important.
Okay,
is that when they do statistics, 85% of men who beat their wife, they saw it. They saw their parent doing the same thing. They are just reproducing what they saw.
They came from toxic homes.
Yeah, they came from toxic homes. Yes, that's why when you see a man misbehaving, and the first question I asked to Dr. Kum, one thing I can say about it is that it is not 100% men. Women has also their responsibility on that gender violence. Okay. Because, for instance, I heard a preacher one day saying that there are women that their mouth is like razor blades. So when they speak to you anyhow, it just hurts you, and you may find yourself being violent even though you are not violent, because they don't control their way of talking.
Okay. Now I want to get to Hamlet now. Are men conscious of the environment in which they are? Or look at Cameroon in general, because I don't know. Because the men kill. The women can have their mouths as razor blades, but do they kill?
I would say, I will pick a bit from all what has been said from the different panelists to say that the killing can never be justified. Whatever the empowerment level that they give to women, or the message that have been sent to them, or limiting the scope or not limiting the scope, can never justify any violence that is happening in the house. You have rights. If we will not look at it from the Occidental way that it is being imported and stuff like that, but I will take it from the African tradition. We are meant to ask that, our parents ask that we must respect our wife, and we also, as the wives, can respect their husbands. Even the pastor says that in church. It's not the white people that come and tell you to respect your wife or respect your husband.
Have a pastor, yeah.
You see, yeah. So when the day they marry, the pastor says you must love your wife and respect your wife. You husband, you do this. So
is that what is being practiced? Because
no, I'm just saying that these are some of the I can say it's a fundamental assignment that the pastor gives from the beginning, day one. And even when we are growing up, we are asked to love our sisters, we are asked to love our brothers. We are not asked that if your junior boys do something, you just need to give a spank, pie. No, the right the woman has, that's the same right the man has. But there must be a way of expressing it. We can now look at the whole phenomenon is how these things are being revendicated.
Okay.
If it is revendicated in a radical way, there's need to call attention. That's why there are people like the coach that is here. That's why there is Dr. Kum that is here. Because the pastor also, it's not about like you have someone that has been given a special gift. To do that, you can reach out to your neighbor and say, how do you deal with this situation when your wife talks with that? You pick up from this exchange of experience and so that then you build your home properly. So definitely the beating or whatever, I would like rather not say that, ask the question that who are the people responsible, but I'll ask that who are the persons who react the most in the conversation, because that's where the shared responsibility comes from the ground level. The women has that power of giving you that kind of psychological violence trauma that the man now will react in a more physical way. That's the shared responsibility that you tell the woman that, okay, this place, you said this thing, it was really hurting, and you need to go back and apologize. And you, the man, no, you really beat this man this way, and these are the bruises, these are the expenditures, because the bills are there. You need to look at how much you are spending also, because it's not a stranger that come and take your wife to hospital. You say, okay, my love, I am sorry. And the one thing that is always lacking in relationship of men and women, especially from what I've noticed, is that most women lack this romantic way of dealing with their relationship. I don't know, it's like for young people also, but our elder persons think that they don't need to play love in a married house. Of which there are some sweet ways you talk to your husband. Even when your husband even when your husband is arguing on something that you know that you are really on the wrong, and you are not adamant to like just say I'm sorry. But there are also ways you can use acknowledging it, like you can say my father, my daddy. The women have these ways they can compliment men, and when a man that really loves,
do you think an angry man that, you say your daddy, my father, will hear you? He will not hear, right?
This is when you bring someone in to do the talking, and you, the woman, you're only there firing, and from that moment, it means you're not giving way for peace, and you need to always cross that boundary for peace to come in. Okay. When you cross that boundary, peace to come in, then from that moment, conversation can happen. And also, I would like to say that most of the time, it's not only the men who trigger the violence. Most of the time, it's the women. Not from the way, not being that they're being physical, but from their way of, they might be saying something that is legitimate, based on their right, as they say, but they might not be communicating the right way. And that's what we always symbolize, that it is the communication that is the backbone of the problem, and not really the individuals. And sometimes we say you need to restructure the way you communicate to your wife, and the husband must restructure the way he communicates to the wife. And this also is vice versa, and it makes things to move smoothly, and the home can be happily managed. Because as we talk about shared responsibility, if we don't manage the home very well, we'll continue to have more coaches for children.
All right. I want to get back to Dr. Kum. Now, what will provoke a man to beat a woman? To kill a woman? That's you batter her, you torture her to the point of killing her. What will make a man? You're a man. You're men. Now, what will really push a man to beat, batter, torture, and ending up killing a woman? Let's hear from men.
Thank you very much, Maureen, and we're glad you are the only woman on this set because it would have been terrible that men gather to discuss how to handle this issue without a woman. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing, like I said, is that nothing whatsoever justifies physical violence on a woman which may result to her losing her life. So, but then the men who will carry out such activities, I think there are a few things that maybe they have not understood. If we should bring this matter under control, the first thing is that men should really start doing their kind of self-evaluation as to some of the vices we have in the society, or some of the stereotypes, or some of those things that in the community are like taken for granted. Because, for example, you will pass somewhere and hear women are the weaker sex. Who told who that women are the weaker sex? I think we just celebrated Women's Day, and I watched a documentary where a woman was pulling a caterpillar, and I think they asked if she's married. She was not, and one of the reasons she gave was that many men who actually know she's a caterpillar driver are afraid to come because they are afraid that maybe she's going to be beating them in the house. So I think that is just one of the issues. Another one is an issue with men trying to feel for the women. If we were to reverse roles, will the men really appreciate being treated like some of them treat the women? So women are supposed to be partners to the men and not their subordinates or not their slaves, like it was mentioned here. So I think if we are able to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and know that this person needs to be valorized, that is, look at those things that are positive in that person, that ever took us to that person, and see how we can manage their deficiencies, I think it's going to address a lot of these challenges. And maybe the last point may just be that, again, because all what I'm saying has to do with the man, because you need to start with the man who perpetrates the act before you start going into the community and before you start going into, I don't know what this would, what.
All right, Dr. Kum, you're married, right?
I'm married.
How many years?
This is 17 years now.
17 years, all right. Throughout your 17 years in marriage, have you ever been angry?
Several times.
All right. What provoked that anger?
No, the anger generally at times will come from inappropriate communication. Okay, you asked if I'd been angry, but you didn't ask if I ever lay hands on my wife.
That's I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So
it will never get to that level, we can be sure.
No,
but then I think it's inappropriate communication, and at times when you return from work, you just want to have your rest. And so when madam comes up with questions and want to have some details, maybe you give very laconic answers, which at times may instead stir her up. She gets angry. Okay, so it's like you don't want to communicate. Meanwhile, it's just because maybe you had a terrible day at work, and so you were rushing home because you know it's where you need to get rest and maybe discuss after. So you know the women generally use many words to put across an idea. So at times it doesn't go very well with.
I still want to get there that you've been angry several times.
Yes.
But now in that your anger, have you tried to let me just beat up this woman?
So it has never crossed. It has never crossed my mind. First of all, because it has to do with the lady I got married to. I don't have two wives. So before getting married to her, I think there was that love, and I'm speaking under the control of the pastors that we have on the set. The definition of love, the biblical definition, is very, very deep, Because when you love, you tolerate. When you love, you understand. When you love, you forgive. When you love, you have all of those.
All right.
So I think when that anger is there, yes, at times the most we do is maybe you withdraw. You withdraw because if you stand there, of course, we are humans. That you may get to a point where you do the unimaginable. So I think to answer your question directly, no, it has never crossed my mind.
Okay.
And I'm sure Madam is listening to us.
Okay.
If what I'm saying is not true, certainly you will receive a call.
Let me get to Pastor. Now, tell us your own experience. You're married, right? Yeah, you're married more than 10 years. You don't want to give me the right figures, but let me give it for you. And in the course of your marriage, what are those things that have provoked your anger?
Well, when we are on set like this, we are talking to multitudes out there.
Because I think we are talking because we want to change mindsets, we want to transform families out there.
Sure. Within a marital relationship where people claim that everything has just been rosy, there is a problem. There's surely a manipulation somewhere, because we're talking about two entities, people who have different ideologies, they come from different backgrounds, different experiences in life and all of that. There will be unmet expectations. And some of those things are not a threat to a marriage. They come on board in order to complement. So each time there is a cause to be, to be uncomfortable, it's always good to look at the supreme interest of the marriage. That is that should be the kind of the ruling principle.
Grand championnat, grand match, paiement fiable. De ton téléphone directement sur ton Momo. Parce que quand le jeu nous fait vibrer, on vibre avec lui. Rejoins l'action dès aujourd'hui. Visite Bets Central, pense M. Bets Central. Gagnez plus.